let us go into the breach. Sunday nights, Facebook Live. We're on YouTube Live, going across everything. Sorry about the little delay. Joe and I are trying out a lot of things because thanks to your generosity, we were able to get some new equipment. But that causes a little bit of agita for us guys. So we thank you for sticking with us. Remember, please, share our videos on Facebook with your friends. Share our videos all over the place, groups. Follow us on Facebook and on YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel, The Frontline with Joe and Joe. And also, please hit that little bell, okay? Because we understand that that helps with the algorithm, okay? So we have a great show for you tonight. There is really a lot going on. We really understand, or Joe and I are breaking this down. The Democrats have overplayed their hand. They had a hand. We'll agree they had a hand, okay, that was mostly of their own doing. But now they've overplayed it. And we're going to break that down. And the reason why we're saying that is because Minnesota, a blue state, is moving red. Minnesota is slipping away from Biden. And a lot of it has to do with the violence that's going on. Because guess what city is in Minnesota? Minneapolis, okay? And the place is a disaster. So we're going to get into that. You got, the elitism never stops with the lefties, okay? So you got the Portland mayor, Ted Wheeler, gets attacked in his home. And what does he do? He flies the coop. Why? Because he's got 2 or 3 other properties that he can leave and he can flee the city. This is the mayor, by the way. Attorney General Barr, Joe and I say all the time on the show, our first reason for voting for Donald Trump is judges. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
Bill Barr is now my second reason. I want that guy to be Attorney General for the next 4 years, okay? Joe Biden is hiding Biden, is creepy Biden. Well, now he's lying Biden. And he blatantly lied. And a lot of you blue-collar people out there are going to want to hear how he blatantly lied. And they can spin it all they want, JoJo, okay? Joe Biden lied. We're going to tell you how he lied. Vernon Jones, a black Democrat from the great state of Georgia, says the goal of Black Lives Matter is to destroy black families. We're going to break that down. And if it couldn't get any worse in all this, okay, the California legislature just made it easier for pedophiles to not have to register as sex offenders. And it's disgusting. And we're going to get into it all. So having said that, okay, let's get going on the front line with Joe and Joe.
As Joe said, Minnesota may be slipping away from Biden. Obviously, that's a result of the riots. I mean, the riots are out of control. It's become a sore point for the Democrats. The problem is the people that they're dealing with, they don't even respect the lefties. They tried to, they protest outside of Bezos's house.
Did they really?
Oh, yes. They had, they set up a fake guillotine.
For Jeff Bezos?
Yes, yes. So, I mean, this is a group of people. You have to remember, and we're going to talk a little bit about this through a story that Vernon Jones discussed with regard to Black Lives Matter. These are communists. It's a communist organization. This is not my words. The founders are communists. The woman is quoted, "I am a trained Marxist." They don't respect. They're basically a wild card, and frankly, their protesting it's out of control. Just recently in Rochester, New York, there was footage that was absolutely disgusting. And you know,
I was horrified by that. And we've been seeing so much violence, but for whatever reason, that video when I saw it, because now you're seeing, let's say, it was a little bit more explicit. You see the crowds, you see the thugs. They're going in, they're throwing chairs. They're breaking glasses in the outdoor dining. They're breaking glass, but they were going up to the diners. It was these 6 or 7 girls, right, sitting around. You know, they looked like they were just out to have a couple drinks, maybe some appetizers. And here comes BLM and the rest of them, and it was BLM because they're waving the flag. And these people are being forced to flee while they're breaking the restaurant. And the thing is, I'm watching this going, I don't know why it hit me because, again, we've been seeing the violence now for what, 60, 90 days, right? That video, maybe it's because I work in a restaurant. Maybe because that's it, okay? And right now, that's all we have is outdoor dining. I'm saying to myself, what if that was me? I mean, some of these dudes are big, not for nothing. I'm not a punk. I'm not a punk. But the thing is, I'm not going to listen. There's 200 people there from BLM. I'm not. Listen,
no way.
I'm not sacrificing myself, and falling on my sword for that.
Just leave. That's the police's job, and this is.
But where was the cops?
Well,
I mean, that's another story.
But I mean, this is why Minnesota is potentially going to go for Trump. And this is, as Joe said, it is a blue state. Keep this in mind. There's a lot of significance to that, because if Trump wins Minnesota, he could potentially lose Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania and still win the presidency.
I had to do the math, because it's at first I thought to myself, well, no, that's impossible. I mean, you're gaining 10 electoral votes if you pick up Minnesota, but then you're losing 3 big states. No, the numbers work out, because Ohio right now is solidly Donald Trump.
Florida is as well, and to be honest with you, I don't think there's been a president in the modern era that has lost both Ohio and Florida in one presidency.
Right.
You lose those 2, go to sleep. If it's 7 o'clock at night, it's done.
Go to bed. Your night's over. But the thing is, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and what was the other one? Michigan. They can all go for Biden, but if Trump picks up Minnesota, the way the numbers work, Trump wins like 271 to 268 or something along those lines. It's close. It's close. But this has them quaking in their boots, because not for nothing, I highly doubt that Donald Trump is going to lose Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I really believe that. So you're looking at, I mean, go ahead, get into the when you listen to some of these people, by the way, I like, before Joe keeps going, because he's going to back up what we've been saying on the show all the time. Blue collar Democrats have had enough. They have had enough. And a lot of them are looking at everything. That's why Joe said, and he titled this show, the DNC overplayed their hand. Go ahead, Joe, tell them.
Basically, why I think this is a significant story is you have a number of mayors in Minnesota, 6 to be exact, who've come out on the record to endorse Donald Trump. The mayor of Duluth, Gary Doughty, this is what he had to say. He said, "I come from a Democratic farm labor family, and many of my family members still are staunch Democrats. My dad was the head of the Teamsters, and the things he fought for, jobs and benefits for working men and women. The Democratic Party has lost that. They've gone so far left, I can't support the Democratic ticket this year." You see, this is a message that a lot of people are saying.
Right.
And keep this in mind, this is exactly why that Joe Biden is the Trojan horse.
Right.
He's trying to say, I'm with you, Gary. I am that Democrat. Joe, no, you're not. And here's the thing. I've seen this on social media. Point to the Biden-Sanders unity document. It's 110 pages. The document wasn't written by a conservative think tank. It was written by them. Joe Biden has bought into the platform of the left because he has to.
Right.
He has to. Bernie Sanders had 35% of the Democratic piece of the pie before he backed out. He has to give them a say. If he doesn't win.
Right.
He straight up and down doesn't win.
Right.
So Gary Doughty, who is a quote unquote Democrat, I mean, I think the party has completely gone off the rails because of its social platform with regard to abortion and same-sex marriage. We won't go there for now, but the point of the matter is this. Joe Biden is there to basically court this guy, and he's seeing through it. Here's another mayor.
Real quick, there's a question in the chat room. How's the math work out? This is the way I read it when I looked at the electoral map from 2016. You could either look at 306 or 304, which is the amount of electoral votes that Donald Trump got. So take 304. If you subtract the electoral votes from Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, that would bring Trump down to 266. When you, I believe it's 266 or 264. When you add in Minnesota plus 10, that puts Donald Trump over 270. That's how the numbers work out. Remember, Donald Trump won. You need 270 to win the Electoral College. Donald Trump got, again, depending on who you listen to, 304 or 306. So take the lower number, 304. That's how that breaks down. That's why they're quaking in their boots over Minnesota.
But here's another mayor. His name is Larry Cuff, and this is what he had to say. This is another mayor in Minnesota. He said, the Democratic platform has moved further and further to the left, and the Democrats who I grew up with, they're left out in the lurch. What we stand for, and me being a former Democrat for many years, we stand for our flag, and we're proud Americans, and we kneel to pray. You see, their platform, you could talk all you want. Their platform is not about that. This is a radical platform. We've said this time and time again. And also, keep this in mind. Minnesota, particularly Minneapolis, St. Paul, looks like Beirut during the 80s.
Right.
It's Syria. It's completely bombed out. If you had a business, if you had a family, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, there's certain events that transcend all of that. Like, I can't eat. Like, I'm going to get shot if I go outside.
Right.
Like, there are no police to protect my kids.
If it was, I'm going to tell you this objectively. If this was Republican-run cities, and I've been a Republican, again, we have our problems with Republicans, but as a party, I've been a Republican for a very long time. If this was the Republicans and they were not protecting people, and the Democrats were actually trying to protect people, I at the very least would not be supporting the Republicans. I might not be able to vote Democrat because of abortion and other things. But bottom line is this: I'd have a real problem with my party. Michelle, hey Michelle, how you doing? She's in the chat room. I'm sorry, as a Catholic, I cannot support Joe Biden. I'm supporting Donald Trump. I cannot support the far left. Stay tuned, Michelle. And I forgot to mention earlier at the top of the show, tomorrow morning, Joe and I are going to be doing a really good interview. I want to call it a conversation because he's going to mix it up with us at the Frontline. We're doing an interview with Tim Gordon, and we're going to get into a lot of those things, Michelle, about as far as Father Imperato out there talking about Joe Biden. No Catholic can vote for Joe Biden. We're going to break that down. So stay tuned, all you people. Sometime tomorrow during the day, I'm going to post that interview that Joe and I are doing tomorrow morning with Tim Gordon. But yes. Exactly. As Catholics, I mean, aside from just being American, I mean, let's say just a run-of-the-mill average American, okay, who loves this country, how the hell can you vote for this? How could you vote for this agenda? No, but like I said,
it just transcends all common sense when your city is burning. I mean, this, frankly, is a coup. This is going along the line. This is the beginning of a coup. And by the way, it's not going to stop even if Donald Trump wins. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we get to the Barr episode. They are trying to weaken the foundations of America.
Doing one hell of a job.
And they're doing a heck of a job. There's no question about it. But here's the interesting thing, too. Now the street violence is shifting a little bit. Mm-hmm. You're starting to see violence on the right coming into these towns. I've seen a number of it. There was a parade of trucks that drove into Portland. They were driving through the crowds. Mm-hmm. And now is basically trying to say that it's the right, that they're basically antagonizing the peaceful protests.
Right.
You see, Donald Trump, I want to be very clear. He said, leave the policing to the authorities. But here's the thing. I'm actually surprised it took this long, frankly, because this has been going on way before George Floyd in Portland. The police, Portland, the Antifa situation was created by the administration because they're not doing anything.
Right.
So what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be vigilantism. This is what we're seeing.
But this is what they're banking on.
You're right.
I would say this. Say these. Now, look, I'm not going to buy into this narrative that the media is trying to spin, that these are right-wing extremists. Okay, you don't need to be a right-wing extremist to want to punch Antifa right in their face. We're not advocating that. Let me be clear. Okay, but what I'm saying is these people, like I mentioned about the restaurant up in Rochester. Okay. If I got to defend myself, or if I think this is ridiculous, that 200 BLM rioters go up to a restaurant and destroy this person's restaurant, all right, in the city, and terrorize all the people that are there dining and breaking things and everything else, you can't blame necessarily people for saying, all right, we're going to organize and we got to fight against these guys. Again, we're not advocating it, but they're playing into what the left wants. Because why? Because as John Daniel Davidson, he wrote an article in the Federalist, because this gives them a new narrative now. It's right-wing extremism that's the problem, because these are mostly peaceful protests that have been going on for the last 90 days, and it's only getting violent now because of right-wing extremism. And that's a friggin' lie. It's an out-and-out lie.
People who have eyes don't buy that. But they will, basically, to be truthful with you, they're banking on the violence. And this is where it's sad. And I don't mean to be derogatory towards these people, but this is where they're useful idiots. And I'm going to tell you why. They are going to throw these rioters to the wolves, because eventually these nuts are going to come out of the woodwork, and they are going to run roughshod over them.
You're talking about the
BLM
left,
and
that they're the useful idiots.
Yes, they are.
Well, listen.
They're going to get thrown to the wolves, because these men, and what they're going to then do is exploit the violence on the right on Antifa and BLM and point to it.
Right.
And basically say he is Adolf Hitler. He is a fascist. These men are fascists. You saw that with that young kid, Kyle Rittenhouse,
right.
17.
Right.
And that was just one situation. And frankly, he was a child. He's 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying, listen, he's running around the streets with an automatic weapon. Did look like he was defending himself. However, he's still in the street with a gun. I mean, if he was my kid, I'd be like, Kyle, get in your room and do your homework.
Right.
This is not your place to be in the street
mm-hmm.
with a gun like that. But this is what is going to happen. We saw that a little bit with the Proud Boys in Portland.
Right.
Way before Floyd. When the police don't do their job, and this is where these mayors, I'll be truthful with you, I've said this on other shows, this is not resistance. This is treason. You see, I'll be truthful with you. One thing I think Trump made a mistake, and this is my opinion. This is my opinion, I'm going to share it. I would have stopped this immediately. I don't care what your governor or your mayor has to say. You will not put American citizens in harm's way because of your activism. I'm not having it. I'm sorry, and I'd be very clear about it. I don't care if you invite me in.
Mm-hmm.
You will not hurt people.
Right.
And it's my job to help you. And if your mayor won't do it, and clearly the mayor of Portland, Ted Wheeler, didn't want to do it, and he didn't want to do it way before George Floyd, the government has to step in.
But then they turned on him too, which we're going to get into in a little, but then they turned on him too. You cannot win with these people. That's why the only thing you could do, Jeff says semi-automatic. Either way, dude was standing in the street, and like you said, it didn't look like he was defending himself, talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. In fact, Lynn Wood said he would represent him for free. Lynn Wood is the one who took CNN and the Washington Post to the cleaners in the Nick Sandmann case, okay? But the thing is, we have to be careful. You're right. Notice Donald Trump should turn around he should actually address the nation, not from the podium in the press room, from the Oval Office. And he should declare to all these mayors, if you have 5 days, to shut down these riots. They are not peaceful protests. That's demonstrable. You could prove it. Okay, you see it. We all have eyes to see. And Donald Trump says, if you don't shut down the violence, I'm sending in the National Guard. That is what now that'll give him another narrative. Of course, he's Hitler. He's Mussolini. Okay, but it's easier to deal with that than have vigilantism.
Well,
like
because it's going to come to it.
Well, it's coming. Well, it is obviously coming down.
Because what you are going to have, I watched a thing on social media. It was a group from Houston, Texas, that said they were going to fly into Portland. These guys were like jacked, and they had guns. And I got news for you: these guys know how to shoot them. They're backwoods guys. They hunt. They know how to shoot guns. And believe me, they mean business.
Right.
This is what you get when you don't have police. It turns into the Wild Wild West. What do you think is going to happen? That's why we have police. I don't advocate that, and frankly, neither does Donald Trump. He said it. He said, do not do this.
Right.
Leave it to the authorities. But when the authorities don't act, of course people are going to defend themselves. I heard another clip from a guy, he was a mechanic in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He basically said, this was an interview, he said, I'm at my mechanic shop on the roof with weapons basically protecting my shop from rioters. He goes, you want to come to my place? He gave his address in the interview. He goes, I'm at 12345 Kenosha Boulevard. Come on down. This guy means business. He's like, you want to come here? Come on down.
Yeah, but it's like you said, these rank and file BLM and Antifa characters, they're useful idiots. They'll send them right into that guy's, that guy will be spraying bullets and they'll send them right in. Because, look, the people that are pulling their strings, they're the enemy. These useful idiots, these are young kids. BLM is 5 out of 6 of these kids in BLM are white kids. Don't ask me how that translates.
Did you see the kid that just got arrested in New York City?
No.
This kid gets arrested. She went on like basically a destructive spree down the middle of Manhattan. Turns out her parents are they're wealthy New Yorkers. She's like a kid,
mm-hmm.
and like a kid, white kid, rich from New York City. That's a lot of these kids. You get some backwoods guy from frigging Arkansas with a semi-automatic.
He's gonna take you out.
He's going to hang you from a tree and make beef jerky out of you.
Right, and they're not going to care what the media says about that.
And that's why you need police.
Right.
And frankly, that's where Donald Trump, I think it was a mistake. I would have immediately shut that down. I said that. I'll be honest with you, when it was going on in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Right.
And I'll tell you this, if I was Donald Trump, I'll tell you exactly what I'd do. On Tuesday, if I win, I declare myself the victor immediately, because I don't have to get reelected again. The next day, I send in the National Guard, and my message to every single one of these mayors is tough.
Too bad.
Tough. And if you get in the way, you can go to jail too. You will not put people in harm's way.
Right.
I'm sorry. I am not standing for it. I don't care. I don't care. That goes for Bill de Blasio. That goes for Mayor Lightfoot. That goes for Ted Wheeler. That goes for the mayor of San Francisco.
Right.
There will be order. Sorry.
Right. You can't think that you're just going to do whatever it is you want, and sooner or later there's not going to be a response from the government. Now, again, remember something. These are the people that are pulling their strings. They're very intelligent people. They have already done the chess match,
I know that.
Okay, so they know what they're going to do in the case of, let's say we were just talking about in the street violence. A new narrative from the media is now it's right-wing extremists. So they know when it's vigilantes. I don't even want to call them vigilantes. Okay, I want to call them people who are fed up, but unfortunately are doing exactly what the left wants them to do. But the left knows what they're going to do in reaction to that. The left knows what they're going to do in reaction to Donald Trump if he sends in the National Guard. I would just say this, being that they already know what they're going to do, and we need to reelect Donald Trump so he can restore law and order, screw them. At least it's the government doing it. At least it's the government protecting the citizens who are being harmed by BLM and Antifa, like the restaurant owner in Rochester. Who's there to protect him? I looked at Joe. I swear, I know it's a little cliche. I looked at the video and I said to my wife, she heard me moaning. She goes, "What's the matter?" I said, "This is America. This is America." And you. I don't want to use the word, but you nitwits in the media, you think we honestly believe this is Donald Trump's fault? This is your fault. If you reported on it honestly, then maybe somebody would do something about it. But you're so dishonest. Here, let's just break this down. Let's break it down. Joe always says all the time, and I say all the time, we back up everything we say. Their new narrative, this is right-wing extremists. Well, before these right-wing extremists came in, I'm just going to read the list. BLM gunman reportedly shoots driver in Provo, Utah. BLM gunman shot and killed in Austin, Texas, after he pointed an AK-47 at an Uber driver that was a retired U.S. Army sergeant. Okay, BLM gunman arrested for firing at a Jeep in Aurora, Colorado. BLM protesters allegedly fire a shotgun at police officer outside his home. Throw in Rochester. Throw in all the things that we're seeing. Throw in the attempts to tear down statues that we covered a few months ago. Frig you, media. And we're not all so stupid.
What about the mayors? Why aren't you doing anything? It's clear. It's clear that they got the email. This is not resistance. This is treason. And I'll be truthful with you. I'm not having it.
No.
I'm not having it.
No.
You will have law and order. I said this, like I said, in Minnesota. They should have shut it down. You will not destroy this city. Minneapolis, St. Paul is not going to recover for decades. I got news for you. This is not just going to snap your fingers and everything's going to be back to normal. Mm-hmm. That city's shot. That city's shot. It's done for a long, long time. And you know something? It's a shame. Because all the people with the fancy shoes, they know what's going on. They're funding this, by the way. So's the NFL, so's the NBA, so is corporate America. They're funding this by donations to BLM. Who do you think is paying for it? It's domestic terrorism. And they are hurting people. Sorry, guys, it's not peaceful. And by the way, the polls are showing it.
That's right. Because
the polls are showing it now.
And that's why we started this show tonight at the Frontline with Joe Pasillo and Joe Resinello. That's why we started this show with Minnesota. Because Democrats, blue-collar Democrats in that Iron Ridge in Minnesota, okay, 6 mayors, all Democrat, all came out and said, this is not America. This is not America. Joe Biden is going to do nothing about it. And as far as it goes, John, forget about confusing a movement for individual actors. The individual actors, maybe you should confront some of them yourself. The individual actors, and I've seen them firsthand, okay? When I went to pray in front of an abortion clinic, and I go once a month down to Planned Parenthood, okay? I see exactly what they're like. The people who are pulling their strings and the individual actors are cut from the same cloth, okay? So just let's get it straight. Go watch the video in Rochester and see what those individual actors are doing to the restaurant owner there and his patrons who are being terrorized before you want to accuse me and Joe of anything like that. So you're at the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo, Joe Resinello. We got Sandra joining us, Mike, Nazaro, Sherwin. Got a lot of people in the chat room. Sorry I can't get to it all. But yeah, it's got to come down to we have to say that law and order needs to be restored, and we can't do it ourselves. I don't think we ought to. I think that's going to feed too much into what the left wants. That's why they're changing the narrative now. And I think we really have to keep our heads about us when it comes to this. We really do. And hope Donald Trump gets reelected and he sends in the National Guard, like you said. I think that
has to be done.
Hey, listen, and I was born in '67 in Newark, New Jersey. In 1967, Lyndon Johnson sent the National Guard into Newark, New Jersey to restore order. Okay? It's not like this is unheard of. Okay? This is violence in the streets. It's revolution in the streets. It's terrorism, domestic, not coming from the right, coming from the left, and it needs to be put down.
There's no question about it. I'm sorry. And like I said, your local woke politician in your state has nothing to say about it. I'm not asking. I'm telling you. If I was the president, I'm not asking. I'm telling you. And by the way, I'm defunding you of all federal dollars. Trump already threw that out this week via a tweet. He should carry through. You want to destroy your city? You want to defy me as the president? Well, guess what? I'm not going to give you money then. I'm not going to give you... You see, this is, once again, the front line with Joe and Joe, advice. You strangle them economically. Sometimes you don't even have to send in the National Guard. You just cut their funds.
Right.
And let them choke in the corner with no money.
And Donald Trump's all about that. He does not want to send them. He does not want to send them any money.
That's how you do it. That's how you do
right.
it. It always moves the needle. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Money moves the needle. Because people, when you start shaking that tree, they run for the hills. Very few people on this earth are willing to take that type of what's it called, pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Very few. Very few. And that is what you do. You just shake that tree and just say, get no money.
Right.
You don't even have to, you just send an email.
You see how fast Lori Lightfoot deploys the cops and says, go put down those rights. You'll see how fast Bill de Blasio stops letting these people loot and in stores in Midtown Manhattan. You see how fast they move when they say, you're not getting any money. You're gonna cut funding for the cops. Then you're gonna tell them to stand down in the face of domestic terrorism and violence being perpetrated in the streets. And you think what? I'm gonna take money from the good people of Texas, funnel it through the federal government and give it to you? Joe's right. See, that's it. See, Trump should do that first.
Actually, you're
and
right.
I bet
you don't even
there will be no need for the National Guard. All he's got to do is come out and tell Mitch McConnell once they expand the lead in the Senate, and they tell the House no federal dollars to any cities, no matter what, until the violence stops, until you in those cities make the violence stop, and you see how fast they act. You see how fast they act.
Well, Joe mentioned earlier that the mayor of Portland basically fleed his condo, his $800,000 condo, to move into his $1 million house. This is the first point that I want to make with regard to that. He can do that. You see, he is an elitist. I don't know many people that have an $800,000 condo and $1 million second home. In fact, I know very few that have that. You see, he can do that. Most people can't. What happens to the family in Minneapolis, St. Paul, who maybe had a small little business? Say the guy was an electrician and he had 3 kids. He doesn't have the money to do that. What happens to the family living in the south side of Chicago? 4 kids. Mother is a lunch lady. Father's a plumber. What happens to him?
Right.
What happens to the guy in Queens when his neighborhood is burned to the ground? Or the guy in the Bronx?
What about the bodega owner?
Finished. Finished.
What's the matter? He's Hispanic. He doesn't count. His life doesn't matter.
He doesn't move. And this is, again, Joe Pasillo said this in the beginning, and he's right. They'll walk over 1 million dead bodies. They'll walk over Black Lives Matter bodies, too.
They don't care.
They don't care. This is about power. These are the people. Ted Wheeler is rich. Ted Wheeler is powerful. He's the mayor of a pretty big city. Portland, it's not New York, but it's a big city. He's the mayor, and he's wealthy. He easily can get up and leave. There are many people doing that in New York City right now. They have the means.
Right.
And
they're doing it.
And
they're doing it. 500,000 people have left New York City.
See ya, because I can. If you can't, most people can't do that. They're locked in. They have a mortgage. They have family. They have a business. You see, this is exactly what socialism is, by the way. The people who have will always have, and the people who don't will have nothing, and you're never going to climb out of it.
That's right. And they'll make sure of that. And you want to know how Joe could back that up? Because in New York City, Bill de Blasio will not open restaurants and bars, will not open Broadway, will not open museums, will not open all these things that employ all sorts of people that live in the city, working people in the city. He's costing them their jobs, and he doesn't care about it. He doesn't care about it. So in the chat room, some people could say that would, what's that? Yeah, I'm not, yeah, if you're trolling, see you later. And that doesn't mean you, John, because John, you actually did make a point. I'm not talking about you. A couple trolls in the comment box. We're not listening to you. In other words, Joe is exactly right. 1 million dead bodies. And we know why we know that. You know why we know that? I wish people would stop once and for all. Okay. When you see exactly what their position is on abortion, we've said it before on the show. We're going to say it again at the Frontline with Joe and Joe. Abortion has always been about making sure you all know just how vicious they are. Now we're seeing it. Okay, because that's them saying, if you think that we're going to spare you, go and look at what we do to innocent babies in the womb, and then think about what we will do to you if you try to confront us.
Barack Obama, in his quest for a second term, allowed one of his own hand-picked ambassadors to die. That was his friend. You get ambassador jobs through acquaintances. You give them to people who are basically trusted colleagues, people you knew, people you maybe went to school with. That man who he sent in, what was the city? Benghazi. He sent him in.
What was his name? Christopher Stevens?
Dead. He could have this is the United States. You send in the Marines, a helicopter, put it on the roof, get him out. It was not politically in his favor to do it. It was during the election. He let him die. Barack Obama and Tom Perez, Barack Obama handpicked Tom Perez to be the head of the DNC. They're still calling a lot of the shots. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the funding, which is coming from Hollywood, which is coming from corporate America, which is coming from very big donors like George Soros, are funding it. Keep this in mind, the character of that man. They killed one of their own to win that election. Mm-hmm. Who's to say that they won't kill others? They have. Blood is already on their hands. There have been many people who have been killed since George Floyd. Many neighborhoods who will not recover for decades, all for the quest for power. Mm-hmm. All for the quest for power.
And that's exactly what it's all about. That's why they're pulling out all the stops. Because they know, look, they have nowhere to go. That they are showing their true Marxist colors. Whereas in the last 50 years, maybe it was a bit more incremental. Now, because of Donald Trump, because Hillary, they were so sure Hillary was going to win, but then Trump gets here and he really represents our values perfectly. No, to answer some of the people in the com box. No, he's not perfect, and there's things that Joe and I disagree with him on. But I will vote for him 7 days a week and twice on Sunday in good conscience rather than vote for those people.
But this is what Chad Wolf had to say regarding to Ted Wheeler. Okay, he's the acting Secretary of Homeland Security. This is what he had to say. He said, for more than 3 months, Portland has become the epicenter of crime and chaos, with rioters attacking government buildings with the intention of burning them to the ground. And here are the facts.
Facts.
As of today, since July 31, 2020, there have been 255 arrests made by local law enforcement and 23 riots and unlawful assemblies declared. That's since July 31 to now. That's not even 2 months. Wolf continued, despite this, you have stood by passively, arguing that the nightly violence will ultimately burn itself out. The evidence demonstrates otherwise. And now they're coming for you, Ted Wheeler. You see, I'm telling you, this is, and you know, again, there are people in the chat room, they're saying that's a lie. No, it's not. This is not me making it up. This is coming from the head of Homeland Security, documenting statistics. And what it is, people just tune it out. Sadly, you can't rationally talk to some people because they've drank the Kool-Aid. People convince themselves of many things. People convince themselves of murder because abortion is murder, and people support it. There are people who say, Donald Trump, how could you vote for this person? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw it back at you. How could you vote for someone who wants to support third trimester abortions?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you don't like Donald Trump, write me in then. I'll respect you more. Write in Joe. Write in Donald Duck. You're going to vote for Joe Biden?
Right.
You're going to vote for a man who will kill a child a day before it's born?
Right.
He's disqualified.
Angela, by the way, we're on a number of different platforms right now. So, but primarily Facebook, Frontline with Joe and Joe on Facebook and YouTube, Holy Faith Media on Facebook and YouTube. We're on Irana Nation, that's on YouTube. So we're on a number of different platforms. I think, Angela, you're watching us, if I read this correctly, on YouTube. So yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. I'm going to hold my head up high. I don't care what anybody says. Okay. I don't like the fact that Donald Trump is really indifferent to same-sex marriage. I don't like that. Okay. I don't share that value. And it's something that I could argue with, but baby slaughter is, and fighting against it is the primary battle. Okay, judges that will protect my right to not allow the LGBT rage mob to indoctrinate our kids, judges which will be appointed by Donald Trump, nominated by Donald Trump, okay, stand as a wall between us and the radical leftists in the education system. Donald Trump is threatening to defund higher education unless they de-radicalize and have a real diversity of thought in their English department, amongst their faculties, the history department, the philosophy department. So yes, I don't like everything that Donald Trump does, but he is an asset to me as a Roman Catholic. I'm sure a lot of Catholics at the time of Constantine didn't like a lot of things that Constantine did. But if it wasn't for Constantine, the Catholic Church would not have been recognized in the Roman Empire. So we're not looking for a saint in Donald Trump. But I'm not voting for the devil's party, and the party is on the left.
But here, let's talk a little bit about, this was a great conversation with regard to Barr. And he was recently on CNN with Wolf Blitzer, and he was talking about mass mail-in balloting. And I think this is an interesting quote, and I think it'll spark an interesting conversation. This is what he had to say. We are a very closely divided country here, and people have to have confidence in the legitimacy of the government. People are trying to change the rules to this methodology, which as a matter of logic is very open to fraud and coercion. It's reckless and dangerous, and people are playing with fire. What he's saying is this: we're clearly a divided country right now. If people lose focus or confidence in the voting process, it's like baseball. What's the big sin in baseball? You can't bet on baseball. That's why Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame. It's the big sin. You can't bet on baseball. People have to have confidence in the voting process. The Democrats are using mail-in ballots to cloud the ending of the election. Win or lose, they're going to use this to cloud the election. Now, what happens is if it's close? Lawyers are going to decide who's the president of the United States and not Americans. And people both on the right and on the left are going to lose confidence in the election process. That damages our country. That damages our country. And Bill Barr's smart enough to see it.
Right.
Another thing they're doing, and keep this in mind, they're already laying, Joe mentioned the chess game, they're already laying the groundwork. If it's a close election, to say that if Trump is declared the winner, they're going to say he lost. He actually lost. The media organs are all going to scream it. Every Democratic politician is going to say it. And they're going to then use that to try to remove him from office after he is sworn in again.
Right.
What we have to hope for is that it's a landslide. We have to hope. That is what I'm going to pray for the good of the country, because I do think Donald Trump is going to win. I'm sorry, and I say that objectively. And by the way, many people, the gentleman from Stony Brook College who's predicted, I think, 5 of the last 6 presidencies using a political model, he came out 5 days ago. You could look it up. He said Donald Trump is going to win by a landslide. It's a 91% chance.
But that is why they started this race war. That's why they started this. In other words, because they couldn't win with Russia. They couldn't win with Ukraine. They couldn't win even with COVID. Even with COVID, they can't win with that. People are not buying it, man.
Harris she brought up Russia again.
Who? Kamala? Oh, Kamala? Is it Kamala or Kamala?
She brought up Russia.
I was right. Somebody called somebody racist. I forgot who it was in the media for calling her Kamala. All right. I want to point out when Cory Booker called her Kamala, but that's another story. What were we saying? I forgot my point. But the thing is, you know, they're gonna stop at nothing. Okay, and that's why we have to double down. That's why we have to get it, and because this election is going to come down to the Catholic vote. That's what a lot of people are saying. All right, and yeah, sorry guys, I don't care if you're Catholic. If you think voting for, listen, you can't make an argument voting for Biden. You know, you can maybe say that, being Catholic and voting Donald for Trump, you might feel Donald Trump it makes you a little uneasy. Voting for Biden, you're going to justify that and call yourself a faithful Roman Catholic? Really? Baby slaughter? Really?
Don't even.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. What's it called?
But that's what I was going to say, because they started this race war. They went through everything. Now, because everything they had failed. Okay, so now it's a race war, and even this is going to fail because, as we said, the Dems have overplayed their hand. People don't need Jim Acosta or Don Lemon or Chris Cuomo to interpret the news for them. They have these. Okay, and with these, what you get is social media. I know a lot of people don't trust social media. Guess what? We do. You know why? Because the mainstream media is a bunch of liars. So I'd rather listen to credible people in social media that are really exposing the truth of all these things. And you know what? It's going against the Democrats. It's going against the Democrats.
Well, Donald, that's exactly, Donald in the chat room says the mail-in ballots are going to be an issue. They are going to be an issue because it's going to put the election into question if it's close. And that's what they're counting on. Both if he's declared a winner and even they're hoping he's not declared a winner. It's a ploy. And it shouldn't be allowed because most of these states don't have the infrastructure for it. And frankly, that's why I'm not that worried about it, because what Donald Trump is going to do, because he's already assembled a team of lawyers, they're going to prove that. And they're going to basically say, you can't use these because you don't have the system. It's not accurate. But you see, that becomes a wasted vote. And that plays into their narrative too, because then they're going to say he is cheating.
Right.
And the media is going to scream that from the rooftops.
But they've done it for 3.5 or over 3.5 years, and they're going to do it for another 4 years.
I get it, but it hurts the country.
Well, they don't care about that. You know that they don't care about that.
But I live here. And that's why I don't want it to happen. And that's why we need a landslide. You see, these people, what it proves is this. They don't love America. And they don't love you. They want power. You see, they want power. This is not about the guy who runs a bodega in the Bronx. This is not about the person who can't pay for their medicine that doesn't have benefits. It's about power. And this is the sad reality, and people have to see through it. Listen, if you want to vote, this is my answer to this, the mail-in ballot. First of all, if you could wait online in the supermarket, you could wait online at the election.
To vote, you think?
It's called election day. It's not election week. It's a day. You vote, okay? If you want people to register to vote, make it super easy. You pay taxes, you automatically register. You get a driver's license, you automatically register. I'm just saying, I'm not an expert. Make it stupid easy. I want everyone to vote. I want everyone to be able to voice their opinion. I'm an American. And if Donald Trump doesn't win through a fair election, then he doesn't win. But here's the thing. I am not for cheating. I am not for this ploy. And that's just what this is. They're clouding the end result. Do you know that there's going to be violence if that happens? Do you know that many of the BLM kids who are just stupid, innocent kids who don't even realize or know what they're standing for, what BLM is all about, are going to get hurt by very, very, very serious and angry people coming out of the woods, going into cities. We already saw it in Portland, a bunch of guys driving a truck coming into a city, spraying bear spray onto these rioters. Like, do you realize that these kids are going to get hurt?
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. No, if it's a close election, mark my words right now, the lawyers are deciding it. The people of this country aren't deciding this election. From November to January, it's going to be a war.
Right.
There is going to be street violence everywhere.
And did you hear their new narrative? I mean, that was where Bill Barr was arguing with Wolf Blitzer. I love Bill Barr, and that's why I want 4 more years of Bill Barr. Bill Barr went, at one point, very sternly, by the way, did you see it? He went, let me talk. Like that. And I love it because they put Wolf Blitzer up there, by the way, for all you people to know. Like they trot out a Wolf Blitzer with Bill Barr because he's not as bombastic as Jim Acosta or Don Lemon or one of these guys, right? He's Wolf Blitzer. He's older. He's got gray hair and a beard. He's respected. We love Wolf Blitzer. That's the way they think. Bill Barr went, let me talk. Let me talk, because Wolf Blitzer is just as guilty as the rest of them at just the talking points and talking points. So now the new narrative is Donald Trump's encouraging people to commit crimes. What did Trump say? What did Barr say to Wolf Blitzer? Trump turned around and said, you want to make sure that your vote was registered? Show up on election day to go and vote. And if they don't let you vote, that means your vote was registered, right? Doesn't that make sense? He's not encouraging people to commit a crime. But if you sent in the mail-in ballot, and you show up to vote, and they let you vote, that means one of 2 things. They didn't count your ballot, or the system sucks and is unworkable, which I think, to your point, the system sucks and is unworkable. We don't vote by mail. Absentee ballots are not the same as mail-in ballots. You request an absentee ballot if you're in the military.
Sure.
If you're
college,
older,
or college, okay?
State. You want to vote in your state. You request an absentee ballot. That's different, all right? No. You show up at the poll. Don't cry hardship. Your boss is obligated under the law to let you have the day off from work on election. Don't cry hardship because you have to show your ID. Because if you go buy a bottle of Johnny Walker Black, you got to show your ID. Okay? Don't cry hardship. It is a sacred duty that you have in this country to go and vote. You show up to the polls and stop your whining.
It's just common sense. But again, it's just another ploy. And I got news for you. If Donald Trump wins, it's going to be one after the other until he's out. It's actually sad. Because it's very, very sad. And you know something? A lot of things were revealed in these 4 years. One thing that has been absolutely revealed is the media. The mainstream media is the enemy of the people. The second thing that should be revealed, the Democrats are the enemy of the American people. They don't represent American values. They have their own progressive values, and they are diametrically opposed to the Constitution and American values. I hope you're clear on that.
Right.
Because they don't value the First Amendment.
Yeah.
They don't. I'm sorry. I could list you instance after instance after instance.
Absolutely.
They simply don't.
Right.
And they're not. And here's another thing which has been proven. They will stop at nothing to get their way. Vicious and ruthless.
That's right.
Vicious and ruthless.
Let's give it. I just want to make a quick say thank you to Linda. Linda, thank you. She said my favorite guys on Sunday evening. Thank you, Linda. We appreciate it. Not everybody's favorite guys, evidently. Donald, I got to address this. Do you mind? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Only because Donald's in Jersey. So Donald says we can wait online in motor vehicles, but we can't vote in person. Murphy is in on the scam. Donald, I got to tell you quick. I'm going to keep it brief because we're going to move on. My wife and I had to go to motor vehicle last week. We woke up at 4:20 in the morning. We were at motor vehicles in Oakland, up in Oakland. It was a license issue. My wife had to just renew her license. We got there at 5:20. The line was already around the building. By the time sun came up, the line was literally like a quarter of a mile long, all outside, people wearing masks. Okay. My wife asked me to run to Home Depot to get her a chair. We got out of there at 10:30. If I could do that to get a driver's license, I could show up at the polls and go vote.
Of course. All right. And people have eyes and they see it. You see, that's again, they've overplayed their hand. I just hope for the good of the country, and then we'll move on with the next story, that it is a landslide for one reason. then they can't say that there was cheating.
That's right.
They can't say, because if it goes to the courts, there's going to be violence. I'm telling you, and it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be everywhere.
Right.
You can go to ShopRite, and if you basically, someone overhears something, there could be like a horrible incident in the parking lot, in the stores. There's going to be violence, and they don't care. They are counting on it.
Right.
And this is the shame, because you know something? I endured 8 years of Barack Obama, and we didn't do this.
Nope.
This is, their colors have been shown, and I'll tell you this: they are in a bare knuckle fight. And one thing I hope Republicans have learned is they are out to destroy you. And you have to meet them on the same grounds. If someone comes to your house to hurt your family with a Molotov cocktail, I'm coming out with a gun and I am killing you.
Because you have children.
It's not even going to be a debate. Because you mean business. Well, guess what? So do I.
That's right.
And that's how it has to be met.
Yep.
You don't have a conversation with someone who wants to hurt you like that, because they don't respect anything else. They want to hurt you. And this group of individuals are evil. They have put people in the grave to put their power ahead.
That's it. That's the thing. I want to thank John real quick. John, thank you, because I think because after your first comment, I kind of went back at you a little. Thank you for the compliment. He said, I'd rather hear it from real Americans than Fox News or CNN. And John, we're open to disagreement, not like other people trying to like impugn our motives or whatever the case might be. But along those lines, I would just say this. Somebody was talking about Donald Trump's sins of the flesh. I don't know anybody in my life who doesn't have sins of the flesh in their past. Okay? Nobody. Because nobody in my life that I've ever met is a saint. I never met a saint. I didn't meet Mother Teresa, did you?
No,
I didn't meet John Paul II either, okay? I never met a saint, okay? I'm going to say it again. Donald Trump's personal sins, which is all this person pointed out was his personal sins, okay, are his. And he's going to have to stand before Jesus Christ, kneel before Jesus Christ and be judged, just like the rest of us, okay? But the Democrats have, and now on a whole new level, have become the party of absolute death. That is not personal sin. That is the imposition and the embracing of sin and imposing it on the rest of America. Please, I don't want to get into this whole thing, but please understand the difference between the two. And as Jesus said, okay, he who is without sin cast the first stone at Donald Trump for his sins of the flesh. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I mean, getting back, you know, we kind of like, we're going on a couple different tangents, but like getting back to Joe Biden, and I think it's very important to note this.
Oh, by the way, real quick, please subscribe to us on YouTube, because Angela just did. Angela, hit the little bell too, so you're always notified. And all you good people out there, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the little bell. Please follow us on Facebook, share our videos, encourage your friends to our videos and share them. We did have one video went viral. All right, so we got one under our belt. 280,000 views when we were talking about Christopher Columbus. So let's keep this train going. I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Biden recently was in Pittsburgh, and he said basically that it's a lie. Let me give you the exact quote. Let me say this again. I am not banning fracking. He said this in Pittsburgh, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about it. Joe, let me give you a reality check. You've said this time and time again. Why? Because you were in Pittsburgh and you can't say that to get the Pennsylvania vote? Joe Biden says he wants to fact check Donald Trump. This guy is such a liar. It's absurd. And this comment that he says he's not going to ban fracking, well, Joe, again, let me give you the exact quotes. We would work at it. We would make sure it's eliminated, Biden said about coal and fracking from the Democratic presidential debate stage just a few months ago. This is also what he said from the New Hampshire rally. We are going to get rid of fossil fuels. So now, Joe, you've changed your mind because you're in Pittsburgh.
But it was so blatant. Like, oh, and by the way, Awaken, Asleep Sheep, our channel name, The Frontline with Joe and Joe. So you can find us at The Frontline with Joe and Joe. But we're also being broadcast on Holy Faith Media, and where Angela is, Arana Nation, Arana. So we're on it, like I said, a number of different platforms. Okay. So he blatantly, I mean, again, my brains explode because we understand the media is completely biased. And the only reason they get away with what they get away with is because of the media. Are they going to allow Biden to go to Pittsburgh and say, I never said that? That's why the good Lord invented these. You want to know why? Because it shoots video, and it's got Joe Biden at the Democratic National, the primary, in the primary debates, and he said what you just said.
And not long
ago. We're going to look into it, and we're going to stop fracking in coal. You say that? You say that as this champion of the blue-collar man, and then you go to Pittsburgh, and you tell those good people there, I never said that. Yes, you did.
And so did Kamala Harris. She said in a CN town hall, and I'm going to quote her, she said, there is no question that I'm in favor of banning fracking. You see, he's a liar. He's an absolute liar.
Right.
It's absurd for him to even say that. Sadly, people will vote for him anyway. Well, you see, this is the sad reality of American politics. People, I've said this, if Ronald McDonald ran as a Democrat, he'd get 40% of the vote. Ronald McDonald.
But here's the thing, Joe. 40% doesn't win the White House.
No, I get it.
No, I know what you're saying, okay? And it's 40% of the popular vote. And thank God we have the Electoral College, okay, which they're trying to obviously do away with because they're on the losing end of that. The Founding Fathers knew exactly what type of person they were dealing with or what could potentially come down the road when they put in place the Electoral College. We're seeing why they put in place the Electoral College because they want our politics, our national election on election day to be determined by LA, San Francisco, New York, and a couple of other densely populated areas. And the Founding Fathers basically said, well, we know that's going to happen. So the answer is no. 51 state election or 50 state elections and one in DC. That is what happens on election day. Not one national election, 50 state elections and DC. And winner take all, with the exception of Nebraska and Maine, winner take all as far as the electoral votes are concerned. The Founding Fathers did that. So why? So elitists like Biden, Hillary, Obama, and the rest of them have to go to Ohio. You have to go to Michigan. You have to go to Pennsylvania. You know it's a good idea, Joe Biden? Don't lie to those good people by switching your position. Blatantly lying. Blatantly lying. That's right. The Electoral College is here to stay. That would be a disaster if the Electoral College was done away with.
But also, just to give you some statistics, because that's what we do here. We live in facts, and we give out facts, and we deal in reality. Because we're adults, actually. We're not academics.
Right.
We're adults. Adults look at the world as it is. This is what the National Ocean Industries Association had to say about fracking. They said that if you ban fracking, which, by the way, Obama did and destroyed the state of West Virginia, and that's why the state of West Virginia voted Republican. That is a Democratic stronghold. They're all coal miners. And by the way, Pittsburgh's not too far from the border of West Virginia.
It used to be. They used to be. I mean, for the last several go-arounds, West Virginia is solidly red. But you're right. It was a heavily unionized blue state. Okay. I mean, these are the same people that elected Robert Byrd, Klansman that he was, Robert Byrd to the Senate. But you're right. Go ahead.
Basically, this is what the National Ocean Industries Association said. If you ban fracking, that will cost almost 200,000 American jobs.
Good paying jobs.
It will deny the U.S. government billions of dollars in revenue and push offshore production of oil to other countries. You see, because they have to play to their environmental voting bloc, they have to get rid of something that's, what is it? It's not a clean source of energy in their
view. But the fact is, you know what? You know who gets energy? What country in the world gets energy out of the ground better than the United States? Nobody. When I mean by better, I mean cleaner. Okay. Everything we do is clean. You want to know why? Because it's a function of our free market system. If you are in a coal mine, I come in and say, I can help you to do that. I've developed the technology that can help you do that much more clean, much cleaner. All right. So what you do is you pay me so that you can get the coal out of the ground in a cleaner way, comply with the Environmental Protection Agency, and everything's good, right? Because in their mind, remember something, their goal is not cleaning up the environment. They don't give a damn about the environment. They're Marxists. Rush Limbaugh said this 30 years ago, and he's been saying it ever since. Environmentalists are green, they're watermelons. They're green on the outside, they're red on the inside. They talk about, oh, we have to keep the environment clean and the smokestacks and everything. In the meantime, they're Marxists. You could come up with the cleanest way of mining coal, the cleanest way of drilling for oil, the cleanest way to do fracking, and they'll still say no. Why? They want to destroy American independence. They want to destroy the American energy industry. Why? Because they're Marxists. Why do we have to convince people of this, Joe?
It's just like I said, getting back to Biden, it's such a lie. It's just disgusting. It truly is disgusting, and people will defend it. You know, I'll be honest with you. There's some, you know, I've gotten into many political discussions with people, and I've come to the realization for a few things. I've learned this through social media. You can't speak to certain people because no matter what, it could be as clear as day. Mm-hmm. They just don't want to hear it. But here's the thing. There are a lot of objective people out there, and that's frankly who we're trying to speak to. The people who are the independents. My mother always used to say that independents put the president in the seat. And that's who you're trying to win, because sadly, there are many Democrats that goes in, just like with Tara Reid, with Joe Biden. They didn't want to hear it.
Right.
They didn't want to hear it.
They're like, I believe her. I'm voting for Biden anyway.
They don't care.
Well, they're morally upright people.
They don't care about women. They care about power. You see, and they will just gloss right over that, and they will pull the Biden lever. Sad, but it's true.
But not everybody, because who are you going to cover? That's, you know, who are we talking about? Democrat coming out for Donald Trump.
Oh, Vernon Jones.
Right, because you mentioned the word, proper word, objective, open-minded, objective. Go ahead.
Well, Vernon Jones, obviously, he's an African-American representative. What's it called? He's a congressman from Georgia. And he spoke at the Republican convention. And he came out with a very interesting statement this week. Again, he's an African-American male. This is what he had to say. He said, the goal of Black Lives Matter is to destroy the black family. I want to go, before we even get into what he said directly via a quote, I want to go to the website of Black Lives Matter. And I want to tell you what it says. On the website, you know how like if you go into an organization, it says we believe, what we believe, or like our mission statement. This is in Black Lives Matter. It declares its opposition to the nuclear family under the What We Believe page. This is what it said. It omits father in the prescription of social reorganization. And this is the quote. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable.
Mothers, parents, but not fathers.
No father.
No fathers.
I got news for you. This model, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement. I'm going to tell you something right now, my friends, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. The family is the single cell of every society, whether it's the Soviet Union, whether it's Mongolia, whether it's Honduras, whether it's Canada, whether it's Mexico, whether it's the United States. If you do exactly what they just said, we are going to disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family. Your society, I don't give you 50 years. Yeah. I don't give you 50 years.
But that's why we have to let them know. See, it sounds nice to say, right? All right, or like the three little lesbians that founded Black Lives Matter. Okay, sounds really nice. We're going to disrupt the Western nuclear family. Okay, that's fine. You've made it clear, but we're going to make it clear we're going to defend that nuclear family. So what did you think? You were just going to say what you want because you're black and a lesbian, and we're just going to what? Oh, you're going to bully us into keeping our mouth shut? No, the answer is no. And we'll fight you tooth and nail.
And Vernon Jones is a black man.
That's right.
You see, this is not coming from my words. This is his. And I'm also quoting you what their website says. And sadly, a lot of people who are giving money to this organization, which is pathetic, doesn't even realize. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to make my prediction of how this is going to spin. Someone from BLM is going to do something horribly bad. because they cannot be controlled. They know, and I'm going to give you an example that they can't be controlled. Rochester, New York. It's affecting the polls, yet they're still rioting. You see, if they could be controlled, they would be at this point, because it's now affecting Joe Biden. This is factual. That came out of Don Lemon's mouth on CNN. He said the riots, Chris Cuomo, have to stop, yet they haven't, because they can't be controlled. What's going to happen is this. You are going to get an individual or a group of individuals under the BLM flag, and they are going to do something horrible. When I mean horrible, they're not going to go to a restaurant and disrupt people eating dinner. They're going to do something that's so bad that even the Democratic machine, which is the media, is going to have to step away. And everyone who gave them money is going to be embarrassed and mortified. You watch and mark my words.
Do you think that but see what you're suggesting, though, I'm not saying I disagree with you, but what you're suggesting is that these people might have a limit. I think that they're so diabolical, I don't think they have any limits. I think their master is Satan, and I think that they will do anything they can. And I'm sorry, I think the media will never back. The media will never back down. If anything, Joe, they wouldn't cover it. You know what I'm saying? They kind of like step in it, so to speak, where they have to, where something is so blatant that a blind man could see it. Okay, they don't cover it. No, it's kind of like they sidestep it. You know what I mean?
It depends how bad it is. You take out a school,
but they'll blame. I'm sorry, Joe, but they'll blame Trump. They'll blame you and me. They'll blame what they call Nazis and right-wing extremists and white supremacists. Well, they'll find anybody to blame.
I mean, certain things where you just can't get around it. And I actually think that that is going to happen. And I think just like the Black Panthers were in vogue in the 60s for a while, everyone had a beret and everyone thought it was great until they killed a cop, an innocent cop robbing a bank. And then they became persona non grata. This is a bad organization. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's factual. It's right. This is not a peaceful organization. You're seeing black men like Vernon Jones coming out. This is a black man. This is what he had to say. He said, all fathers should be there for their children, but the black male heterosexual is under attack now. That destroys the black family and the Democratic Party. And I am not for that. This is a black man in the state of Georgia who's a Democrat.
Right.
You see, this is not my words. So this group is, if you ask me, they bet on the wrong horse. And I think they're going to do something horrible. They're now, believe it or not, BLM is now hurting the Democratic Party. That Rochester move, actually,
bad move.
That could turn votes in the state of New York to Trump. This is a bad organization. Under another gentleman, DeBerry from Tennessee, mm-hmm. He said, I marched with Martin Luther King, me and my father. This group is not about what Martin Luther King stood for. Well, another black man,
but that's why you read from their manifesto. Because we go by what people say. I don't go by what other people say about BLM. I don't go by what the media says about BLM. I don't go by what LeBron James says about BLM. I don't go listen to any of them. I'm going by what they say. And if you're an American, a Democrat, or a Republican, okay, if you value America in our way of life, our disagreements, our arguments, our institutions, and the ability to be able to do that under the Constitution, if you value that, you should be against BLM too. If somebody asked me, do you support Black Lives Matter? I would say the statement or the organization. The statement, I would say, yes, Black Lives Matter, because all lives matter, and our lives are black. Okay, so yes, I value black lives, and black lives do matter. Black Lives Matter as an organization? Absolutely not. But it's all over the TV. It's all over basketball courts. It's all over the U.S. Open. I like to tell some of these rich athletes, do you really support Black Lives Matter? Because they want your income. They call for economic, what, they're Marxists. You just said it. They want economic equality, redistribution. That's Marxism. That means LeBron's got to give up 90% of his wealth. You think LeBron's going to do that? You think any of the rich Hollywood liberals are going to do that? They're saying Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. So you know what? Why do we call it the way it is? Joe just read from their own manifesto. Okay,
we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement, which basically says to me that you are going to destroy civilization.
Right.
Because if you destroy the model of a man and a woman raising children, you will destroy society.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing, whether you become a brain surgeon or whether you become a construction worker, whether you become an academic or whether you become a laborer, everyone comes from a family. And I'm going to tell you this, I was fortunate enough, I still have my parents, thanks be to God, married 52 years. I was fortunate enough to come from a family, a loving family, a peaceful family, a place where I felt safe. And I also have lifelong friends. And I watched my friends who did not, who I still am friends with today, who came from families that disintegrated, who were not peaceful. And I watched them, how that has affected them. And it has. Some of them are incapable of being with a woman basically in a civil way. They're divorced. They can't be like married peacefully. They can't have normal relationships. It affects you. Don't tell me it doesn't. I've seen it with my own friends. I've seen it. I'm friends with the same people since I went to grammar school.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched and then I've also seen people, I have friends that have come from that. They transition into marriage peacefully. They have good lives. They have productive lives. They may not be financially successful, some of them. Married many, many years, have children, they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the building block of every society, and they're saying it. They say, we do not support the nuclear family.
Right.
Well, guess what? That means you're going to destroy our society.
Well,
whether you're black, whether you're white, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Well, we're going to talk about California, who's putting the pedal to the metal when it comes to this nonsense. But real quick, Roger, Catholics can still vote Democratic and oppose abortion. War is also a form of abortion. No, it is not, my friend. St. Thomas Aquinas did not write a just theory or a just abortion theory. He wrote a just war theory, which the Catholic Church practices. And the Church has always said, war is the last resort. You don't want to go to war, but it's not necessarily an intrinsic evil. Abortion is. So no, war is not a form of abortion. And so just to get that straight as far as Catholic teaching is concerned.
And the bishops, you could look at a 1998 document from the U.S. bishops, and they basically lay that out pretty clearly. And also John Paul II in Lumen, something of life. It's in Latin. I'm not sure. I forget the name of it. I forgot. But John Paul II wrote an encyclical on life. He also states that as well.
Right.
And John Paul II is a saint.
Yeah, we're not. He is.
He is. So in 5 years, he was canonized. 2 legitimate miracles. So I'm going to listen to him.
So let's talk about California. You want to talk about the destruction of the family. You want to talk about radical agendas. You want to talk about picking and choosing who you're gonna prosecute under the law and who you're not. This is disgusting. This next story. I'm almost so queasy about it. I almost was going to ask Joe, let's not cover it, but we have to. We have to, because this stuff is real. This is real. This is why St. Paul said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. I'm not judging anybody, but I can fight against principalities and the powers of darkness in high places. And the government of California, all right, is a high place. So let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, basically, California passed a bill. The bills, just so if you want to look it up, is SB 145. That is reducing penalties for, get this, I can't even believe it, I'm going to have to say it, oral and anal sex with willing children. Let me read that again. California lawmakers passed a bill that would reduce penalties for adults who have oral or anal sex with a willing minor if the sex offender is within 10 years of the age of the victim. Now, I want to give a little background because I think it's important.
Okay, go ahead.
Why they're basically, because there's the senator of California, Scott Wiener, this is what he had to say. He said the bill would put an end to blatant discrimination against young LGBT people engaged in consensual sex. Why he says that is this. I didn't know this, actually. My wife told me this because we were chatting about it. There's a law in California that says if a man has vaginal sex with a minor and it's within a 10-year window, the judge can basically say whether or not that man can or cannot or has to register as a sex offender. So what Wiener is referring to is if you have that law for heterosexuals, we must have that for homosexuals. So let me go on record in saying that's a twisted law for a heterosexual, because a man within 10 years having sex, that means a 20-year-old man could have sex with a 15-year-old girl, and he wouldn't have to register as a sex offender if you get some crazy activist judge.
Right.
The same goes for the homosexual. I'm sorry. That would mean if an 18-year-old male has sex
with an 8-year-old boy.
Well, that's just beyond.
But it's within 10 years.
It is.
It's within 10 years. And this is what they champion in a place like California.
It's absurd.
This is the most pressing issue. Okay? Whether or not somebody who's over the legal the age of being an adult, 18 years old, can get away with not being registered, not having to register as a sex offender if they have sex with someone who's under the age of 18. This is a concern that Americans should have right now. This is something. This is like Murphy in the middle of COVID, like here in New Jersey, Governor Murphy. It's the same thing. In the middle of COVID and riots, okay, this guy passes an all-inclusive LGBT agenda for the schools. Why? Because nobody was watching. Okay, people don't go for this stuff. You know what? And you're right. It shouldn't even be left to the judge. It shouldn't even be left to the judge. If they wanted to change the law properly, this is what they should have done. Not left to the judge. If you're with it, you cannot have sex with a minor. Period. Period. You know what? That's the way the law should work.
That? Does it even have to say heterosexual or homosexual? It doesn't matter. You don't have sex with a minor within 10 years? I mean, crap. California, these are your progressive values that you're trying to impose upon me? Are you crazy? You see, people, we've lost our minds in this country. You see, this is what happens. Now I'm going to go on my soapbox when you throw God out of society. You see, God is the anchor of society. When you throw him out, this is what you get.
This is what you get.
This is what you get.
This is not politics. This is insane.
And I'm not either.
Go look it up.
Because here's the thing. It's also the heterosexual law that's in the books. That's not right either. I don't want to picture that was your daughter. Are you crazy?
Joe.
I mean, like, this is crazy.
Look. There are nuances in the law at times, okay, where a judge may have some discretion, okay? A 20-year-old male has sex with a 17-year-old girl, okay?
I get it.
It's not as cut and dry. But the law should allow for some, let's say, cases like that, but the law should be very clear that still, emphatically, an adult cannot have sex with someone who is legally a minor. And then let it work itself through the system. But you don't change the law. Because I'm sorry, if in the case of, let's say, for argument's sake, an 18-year-old man has sex with don't ask me how the word willing comes into this, okay, an 8-year-old boy, that he doesn't have to register as a sex offender. You're a sex offender. That's what you are.
Well, the thing is, it's the judge, and it's already been proven there are activist judges. I mean, we covered a case in Dallas. I mean, there's basically a situation going on right now where a mother is calling her son Luna. And it's a boy.
Right.
And the judge, basically, the kid is starting the school year, this upcoming school year, and the mother has been given the authority to tell the kid's teachers that they have to call the kid Luna.
And the kid does not want to be, his name's James?
Yeah,
James.
Is a twin brother, too.
Right. And the kid doesn't want to be called Luna, and he doesn't want to be a girl. But his mother is calling the shots. They got the father excluded by the judge, all right? Anytime the kid's with the father, he's affirmed in his masculinity, and the mother's throwing a wrench in that. This is what we're dealing with.
And it's a judge. You see, this is why this is insane. Because you're leaving the liberty to the judge, and some of these people are out of their mind. And this is, guys, this is what happens when you throw God out of society. You see, society doesn't work without God. I got news for you. Our lives don't work without God. Mm-hmm. God gives meaning to your life. It also gives you an anchor. It makes you stable. It also helps you when you fall. You ask for forgiveness. And God gives it to you because he loves you if you sincerely repent of what you did. And he gives you grace to overcome it. You see, our society has gone off the deep end, and it's reflective in things like this, things we've talked about. You can't even logically have a conversation with some people. These things that we talk about, and this is basically the premise of our show, this is a kitchen table conversation. Joe and I aren't academics. We're not stupid people, but at the same time, we're not academics, we're not attorneys, we're not college professors. A lot of the stuff we talk about is straight up and down common sense. It's common sense. You don't even have to go to college to figure some of this stuff out. You don't have to. You just have to have a basic understanding of a life and be an adult. Sadly, we've gone past that. And frankly, it's showing. You see, this is bad fruit from a bad culture. The culture is rotten. It's rotten.
And that's ultimately why we're going through what we're going through, because of what Joe just said. Our culture is rotten to the core, not to the core, not to the core. You want to know why? There's many good people out there, even some people we disagree with, who would agree with us that our culture is really, and let's put it like this, how about in bad shape? That's because of Hollywood, okay? That's because of all their nonsense over the years, the advertising industry, okay? The music industry. That's what we're dealing with, because what the culture does is it shapes people in society, especially young people, okay? And then the oligarchs and the people who seek to impose their will on everybody, they get to those young people and they indoctrinate them and they turn them into the type of voter that they want. The problem with that is that somebody mentioned it in the chat room. People are waking up. They're waking up. Ever since the sexual revolution in the 1960s, okay, after it's all said and done, this is their last push. Why are they being so violent right now? Ask yourself a question. Why now in particular? Because Donald Trump is a right-wing extremist? No, because they've tried everything. And people have woken up and they're going like this. No. Just like the story in California. No, we don't want the mothers in Jersey who went down the Trenton, a blue state, a liberal state, New Jersey. The mothers, when they tried to ram the radical gay agenda in the education system and went down there in Trenton and protested. People are waking up. That's what has them quaking in their boots. They have failed, Joe.
I hope so.
They have failed, and they know it. So now it's a matter of their Marxist revolution has to be imposed on us through violent means. They tried it through the culture. They got a lot of people. They sent a lot of souls to hell. That's what they did. They don't care because they're going to hell too. All right. They sent a lot of souls to hell, and they still haven't won. And now with people waking up, they realize not only are they not winning, they're now starting to lose. They're starting to lose. And that's what has them quaking in their boots. And that's why the violence has ramped up. Their Marxist revolution can only be imposed on us now through violent means. And that's what we have to be on watch for. Would you agree?
Without a question. That's why, to be honest with you, I think it's a no-brainer that you have to vote for Donald Trump. I'll be truthful to you, even if you're a Democrat. And here's the thing. Even if you're a Democrat and you don't like Donald Trump, and that's not, by the way, a good enough reason to not vote for Donald Trump just because you don't like him. Let's talk policy. Let's simply talk policy. But say you don't want to vote for Donald Trump based on policy. You're going to vote for Joe Biden? You're going to vote for some of this crap? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm out. Write someone else in. Write someone else in then. Or don't vote. No one should vote for Joe Biden. No one.
I agree. And you want to know another thing, and then we'll pretty much end it with this. I think that if you look at Trump in this way, okay, he could have reshaped the Republican Party so that, let's say in 2024, let's say not as much of a country club Republican Party, Josh Hawley, who appeals to blue collar workers and good old-fashioned Christian values, okay, unlike what they're doing in California, that person will probably be more palatable. Donald Trump can serve as a bridge to that person, okay, who could be more, if you want to say it like this, a little easier to take than Donald Trump. But here's the thing. You won't get to that guy if you don't, or woman, if you don't vote for Donald Trump. Because if Biden and Harris and the rest of that horrid crew take power, there will be no more salvation. No, I don't mean salvation in the religious sense. There will be no saving America, okay? Because they will drive us down the path of destruction. And like the Cuban gentleman at the Republican National Convention said, he said, without America, there is no place to go. Where are you going to go? So that's why I think it's important to vote for Trump. You know? So anyway, our chat room was certainly alive and buzzing tonight. There has to be hundreds of comments all across social media. We want to thank you all. Please stay tuned tomorrow, and we'd really appreciate it if all you good people share our interview with Tim Gordon. Tim Gordon's a philosopher. He has a degree in law. He's a very, very, very smart guy. He's young, he's energetic, and he is a faithful Catholic. We're going to be talking to him about this subject, about voting for Democrats. The Catholic vote for Trump really is what it comes down to. We had a conversation with Jesse Romero about it. You could look that up on our pages. That was one of our interviews we had. We did 3 interviews with Jesse. That was one of them. And so we're going to have this conversation with Tim Gordon. Please, when you see this video, share this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the little bell. Look out for all our interviews. All our content is up there. Joe and I have been doing this now for what? At least 2 years. All of our content is up there. Frontline with Joe and Joe shows and all of our interviews. And we know that you'll thoroughly enjoy them. Okay. So we want to thank you all. A number of you subscribed to us tonight on YouTube. We want to thank you for that. Please share the YouTube video on Facebook if you don't mind. We would love it if you did that. Again, it's all helpful so we can get out to a wider audience. So until next time, all right, we want to thank you all for joining us here on Facebook and YouTube Live on Sunday night starting at 8 o'clock. And remember that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation, it's going on everywhere. So we'll see you next time.
Be well.